Hi everyone. So this is the team behind the G-Spot. We are a group at Yale-NUS College. We are a Gender and Sexuality Alliance, and what this means is we are a group interested in diversity and inclusion, specifically focused on gender and sexuality issues. So as you can see here, we are all dressed in rainbows, and that's what I'm here to talk about today, rainbows. So what's the first thing I think about when I think about rainbows? It's a song from The Wizard of Oz. It's the song called Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And in that song, it goes something like, the rainbow is a place where dreams really do come true and troubles melt like lemon drops. And I guess that's why the rainbow has come to be the symbol of the LGBT movement. In 1978, Gilbert Baker unveiled the Pride flag at the San Francisco Pride, and it was said that he was inspired by Judy Garland's song because he wanted to do something to commemorate the Stonewall riots, which sparked the American LGBT movement. And the Stonewall riots happened just a few days after Judy Garland's death. And so that's how we got the Pride flag. The Pride flag that represents the hopes and dreams of LGBT people of a better time and a better life. Yet at the same time, I think in recent times, we seem to have forgotten all the different colors of the rainbow. And especially in Singapore, two colors seem to have dominated the discourse, the pink and the white. So in just a week's time, just across the road, Pink Dot is happening again. And on the same day, there will also be people wearing white in their churches. And I find that this is a very problematic narrative that we are having in our society today, where there is only either the pink or the white, as if you are like on Justin Bieber's team or One Direction's team, you know? Like, this is so much more complicated than just whether you are for or against LGBT, like, it's so simple. And I think that's the problem, because activism has come to be seen as just something where you keep shouting and shouting, hoping to get your point across, and we have forgotten that activism is also equally about listening. In a recent commencement speech by Madeleine Albright at Scripps Women University, she said that the great divide in the world today is not between liberals and conservatives, the rich and the poor, the pro-LGBT or the anti-choice, or I don't know, what have you today. I think the greatest difference in the world today is really between those who have the courage to listen and those who are so damn sure that they are definitely right. Wait a minute, you might be thinking, you're from Yale-NUS. Didn't you and your friends wanted to get your ambassador out of the governing board? So for those of you who know what happened, indeed, earlier this year, Ambassador Chan Heng-Chi spoke at the 24th session of the Universal Periodic Review at the United Nations, where she spoke about Singapore's human rights record. And there were some problematic things that were said, which I will not elaborate on here. And so one of our classmates in school wrote an opinion article to our college newsletter suggesting that perhaps where there may be a conflict of interest between her position as an ambassador and her position as a member of our college's governing board, where we want to uphold the values of diversity and inclusion and welcome everyone in our school, perhaps then she should resign. Of course, that was prefaced by a suggestion that we should invite her down for a dialogue to better understand what she was saying. And that was exactly what the G-Spot wanted as well. At the same time, the G-Spot, we published our statement of concern, highlighting that we were working with the student government in our college to invite the ambassador down for a dialogue. And it was this experience that led me to realize how important listening and reaching out to people really was. That activism really isn't just about shouting at people, telling people that they are wrong, calling people out. That it's really a lot more about connecting with people and understanding where we are all coming from. So what happened when we published this statement of concern was the Christian Fellowship in our school also published a similar statement in support of our statement. And that was something that really surprised me, because as far as I know, we always have this idea that the Christian Fellowship and the G-Spot are never going to be friends. And so we were really happy that we were finally building a bridge between ourselves and another group in college that we really wanted to reach out to, but we never knew how to. And so that was the first thing that I realized, that we aren't really that different after all. In the statement and in my conversations with some of my Christian friends in school who did not necessarily support the LGBT community, they said that they felt marginalized, that their voices are said to be silenced in our community. That why is it that just because we need to affirm the identities of LGBT students, that their identities as Christians who believe a certain thing cannot be affirmed as well? And I think that's something that really struck me, because I don't think that in activism or in the LGBT movement, what we really want to do is to have just one shade of pink. I think it's really about embracing all the different colors of the spectrum. And that there is a place for everyone, regardless of whether you believe that being gay is a sin or not. And a second thing that I realized from this experience was that people just like to sensationalize things a lot. So all you all heard was not about the dialogue, about all the meaningful conversations going on in school. All you all heard was that students in Yale-NUS wanted to get people out, to get the ambassador out of our school. And that was a really big problem because this happened just before Chinese New Year, and when we all had to go visiting our relatives, that's all they were asking us about. Why are you all so disrespectful? Why are you all getting your ambassador to resign? She did so many things for your college, for our country. Yeah, and I think that's exactly the problem. The media sensationalizes things so much that we think that there really is just a pink and a white, when there really is way more than just a pro or an anti-LGBT camp, as you may like it. And I would like to just give you an example. I attended a dialogue session that was organized by a neighbor college, the College of Alice and Peter Tan at NUS. And at that dialogue, I was put in a group with a student who, right from the beginning of the icebreaker game, said that he is anti-LGBT. So during the dialogue, I was just sharing about how I came out to my parents and the challenges that I faced with my parents, trying to reconcile my sexuality with their hopes that I will have a wife and children. And he slowly opened up and shared about how he was feeling so negative about this issue, partly because somebody he loved also came out. And he was going through something that was not that different from me. It was just that he was on the other side of the picture, that he was the one who had to deal with a family member who came out. And after that conversation, we started talking a lot more about my experience and his experience, and I think that really helped. And at the end of the dialogue, he asked me a question. Do you hate Christians because we think that being gay is a sin? And I was very taken aback by what he said, because I thought back at the moment when I had a friend wearing a cross around her neck when I first started college, and I thought that I would not want to come out to her and I don't think we'll be friends. And I thought back at a close friend of 8 years who just drifted away because he converted to Christianity, and I just thought that we would not be friends anymore. Yet at the same time, I thought about my many friends who I stayed in their room all night crying because I broke up with my boyfriend, and they were also Christians, or even just many other friends who also were Christian, and some of them are also gay or lesbian as well. And I just find that such a dichotomy between religion and sexuality is just so problematic in our society that we really need to start changing the story about this issue. So I just want to give you another example of how I think listening and dialogue really is the way to go when it comes to these more controversial issues that people just seem to not be able to shut up about and just keep going on and on. This is June, the one sitting on the bench. She's a transgender activist. She runs a shelter for homeless transgender people. And we have invited her down to our college many, many times to share about her experiences. And this is just a human library that we organized with her earlier this semester. So in 2014, June was invited to speak at a panel on gender identity, on the experiences of transgender and gender non-conforming people in our society. And I would just like to share an anonymous feedback that we received after the panel ended. So this was just a student who attended the event, and he wrote in to us, he or she, I don't know. Yeah. So this is what he wrote. I thought I wouldn't tense up, but at the beginning of the panel, I felt my body twist with anxiety. It's not like this was the first time I have seen transgender people, or my body reacted to them as if I was stuck in a room with decaying zombies. They seemed so unnatural and just inherently bizarre. But then something changed. The more the panelists talked, the less weird I felt about them. They had stories, jokes, and personalities that made me temporarily forget who they were. The best way I can describe it is that they became neighbors. Not in the physical sense that they lived next to me. Rather, I developed a sense of respect and trust in them. And by the end of the panel, when I looked them in the eye and saw them smile and listened to their stories, I felt connected to them. They weren't just other fellow human beings, they were neighbors. And I think that's what I have realized over the past few years of doing student activism, both at Yale-NUS and with my other friends from the other university groups that we have set up recently. It's that activism is so much more about listening rather than just shouting at each other, shouting past each other. where nobody is actually trying to understand where each other are coming from. Pioneer gay activist Alex R. once said that change in Singapore would come at about 1% a year. And I think perhaps if we started to listen to each other more and to understand where we are coming from, we'll realize that we aren't all that different after all, that perhaps there is a way for all the colors of the rainbow to exist together and to look so beautiful together across the sky. And with that, I would like to close in encouraging all of us to chase that rainbow, to finally together reach a place where troubles will melt like lemon drops. And it's not just pink or white, and no matter whether you are wearing pink, white, or any other color you want this coming Saturday, we are all a part of the broader rainbow, and that's what's most important. Thank you.